Last time we completed chapter 1, and we got the intro to chapter 2. We're gonna read all of the journal entries that we have not, try and catch up on some lore. I noticed this. I guess this is just replaying this. Yeah. Anyway, let's continue. Okay.
In his last life, the monk was Jinchanzi, the second disciple to Buddha in the West. Yet his arrogance led him to disregard the Dharma teachings, and as a result, the Buddha cast him down to the mortal realm. He was destined to face 81 trials throughout his journey. The fire for that Kasaya was merely the 11th.
Okay. Well, I'm glad they loaded on that, because I didn't realize I could examine this.
Which deities do most abound upon the earth? The Keepers, surely. Though humble in rank, nothing in the mortal world escapes their eyes. You'd be wise not to spurn their kind, for who knows what powers stand behind them. A fine guardian for Guan Yin he could have been, yet he came back here to daydream immortality. Sadly, he had the greed, but lacked the pluck. He could fool his followers, but not himself. His destiny was sealed the moment he donned that band.
Okay.
A mere human, blessed with a lifespan nearing 3 centuries, yet he was never sated. He just had to seize that one Kasaya. Centuries of devotion undone by a moment's greed. In the end, a lost soul became him. How pathetic.
Yeah, his death was really kind of sad. Hmm. Okay, that's interesting. We missed a Yaoguai king, which means we missed a boss. I'm assuming. That's what all the Yaoguai kings have been. Okay, let's, I'm just going to, in my head, read the ones that I've done already. The Black Wind King hosted a banquet in the temple to celebrate his birthday, and the Yaoguais attended. During the feast, the king hung a lucky ornament on a tree branch, declaring that anyone who could shoot it would receive a rare fortifying golden pill as the reward. The Yaoguais were eager to try, but the fierce wind hampered all their attempts. Among the guests was an old wolf known for his remarkable archery skills. He was cautious, unassuming, and kept to himself in a corner, nursing his drink. A few eager Yaoguais asked him to try, and though he declined, they persisted with their teasing until he reluctantly agreed. Slowly, the wizened old wolf stood up and moved to the position. Some youngsters laughed at him, deeming him incapable. Unperturbed, he calmly strung his bow, let loose an arrow, and struck the target dead center, causing a commotion among the crowd. The old wolf received the reward, and admiration followed suit, as others toasted him. Among them was a youngster who commented on the bull's intoxicated. "How generous our king is," he remarked. "Far better than that Lingshitze, who was good at making pills but never shared them with his underlings. What a tightwad." The youngster's words cast a shadow across the old wolf's face, and he silently took his leave. He had roamed the mountain with Lingshitze long before our king's reign, yet he judged his deceased former master in front of him. "Loyal as he is, you are in trouble now," warned an elder Gwai. However, the young Gwai shrugged off his warning. The next day, the old wolf returned the golden pill to the king, citing its value too high to be possessed by an archer. Hearing the news, the other Yaoguais urged the young one to apologize and seek forgiveness, but he remained defiant. Within a few days, while venturing outside, the youngster was killed by several arrows, each piercing his heart. Many said that even the golden pill couldn't save the youngster from his fate. Long ago, the wolf sentinels were the personal guards of old Lingshitze. They were masters of the long-hafted axe, and their name was spoken in awe among the Yaoguais. When the Black Wind King returned from Guanyin and rebuilt the garrison in the mountains, he took in many wolf Gwais who had wandered here from... I'm going to just, butcher names. So, Shituo Ridge? Shituo Ridge? Something like that. This angered the wolf Gwais native to Blackwind Mountain. To appease them, the Black Bear Gwai pledged to revive old Lingshitze. The wolf Gwais then had no choice but to endure in silence. Yet mere days after the awakening, the old wolf vanished, and no one had seen him since. Upon learning of this, the Black Bear did not look into the matter, but allowed a senior grey wolf Gwai from the kingdom to take old Lingshitze's seat and even his name. Oh. This roused the local wolf Gwais to fury and launched protest after protest. To their surprise, the wolf sentinels at the Black Bear Gwai's behest seized the lesser Gwais who led the unrest. The new Lingshitze flew into a rage at these Gwais, threatening to devour them whole. They were spared this fate only by the timely arrival of the Fireblade Wolf. Thereafter, under the new Lingshitze's command, the wolf sentinels led every patrol of lesser Gwais on the mountain. Never did anyone ever dare rise against Lingshitze again. Yeah, literally the only way I know how to say Lingshitze at all, and I'm probably still butchering it, is because the name was spoken by one of the characters, who may or may not have pronounced it correctly themselves, since I'm playing it in English. Once upon a time, a young wolf followed a great elder wolf to learn the art of hunting. Despite his cleverness and diligence, the young wolf struggled to catch any prey. One day, the pale elder commanded him to find food alone or face hunger. Then, the young wolf, hiding in the shadows of the mountains, finally managed to catch a rabbit. However, instead of eating it alive, he gently licked the rabbit's wounds, as if to heal them. The rabbit took the chance and fled into a pond, struggling to swim to safety, but the young wolf, in pursuit, forced it back into the water. Just as the rabbit was about to drown, the young wolf rescued it, softly nudging its head and helping it breathe. The rabbit woke up conscious but bewildered. Suddenly, the distant howl of the grey elder startled both of them. In his panic, the young wolf accidentally crushed the rabbit under his paw. Heartbroken, the young wolf wept bitterly. As the elder approached and inquired, it became clear the young wolf couldn't bring himself to kill the rabbit, so he repeatedly spared its life. Yet he also feared his own hunger, and that's why he refused to let go. Acknowledged, the grey elder then advised, "Your false kindness brought misery. Instead of hesitation, both of you would have been better off with a swift end." The grey elder's words seemed to have dawned upon the young wolf. Later, it honed a lethal technique of hurling whirling blades from afar for stealth kills, believing this to be the ultimate form of mercy towards its adversaries. Two frog Gwais practiced in the marshes. The smaller frog was often bullied, yet the bigger one always stood up for him, and soon they forged a strong friendship. One day, amid a contest held to appoint a sergeant among all the frogs, turmoil stirred and rippled through the ranks. Finally, the choice was narrowed down to the two, the brawny big frog and the quick-witted small frog. Though the other frogs were discontented, they dared not voice their dissent. The two then were assigned to guard the dwelling. On their duty, a valuable amber glass was found broken. Unable to identify the culprit, all the frogs began clamoring for punishment against the two instead. The big frog attempted to reason with them, but they got antagonized by their words, and soon escalated the argument into a brawl. The frogs interpreted this as his reaction out of embarrassment, hence evidence of his guilt. The small frog, meanwhile, remained silent beside them. Seeing this, the big frog chided him for not speaking up in his defense, and even began to suspect his smaller companion. Hesitated for a while, the small frog then admitted to breaking the glass. However, the other frogs dismissed his confession, arguing that one of them had committed premeditated vandalization, while the other had neglected his duty, and both deserved punishment by death. Okay. The small frog grew anxious and could not help but engage in the argument. As their voice grew louder and louder, their bellies inflated larger and larger, until some of them finally burst, splattering blood and flesh all over the place, leaving none unsoiled. Well, that is what happens when they die, so... Crow Diviner. It is said that the crows gathering in the temples have listened to sutras and teachings every day, developed a spiritual nature, and could predict fortune and misfortune. Thus, some fortune tellers who call themselves crow diviners like to set up stalls in front of temples, using crows to pick fortune sticks for divination. They always lit sandalwood incense, which symbolizes the temple, at their stalls, and claim that their crows were spiritually enlightened ones from the temple. One such crow diviner had a crow he had raised from a chick, which could communicate with him using specially made fortune sticks. Every day, he sent the crow to various parts of the city to observe people's lives. When clients came to seek fortunes, he would use the fortune sticks to inquire about information from the crows. He mixed this information with his own understanding of human affairs, weaving prophecies that were half-true, which often managed to deceive. One day, an official came seeking a fortune, offering a large sum of money. The crow diviner told him that his official career would be prosperous and that he would reach a high position. Unexpectedly, the official not only failed to get promoted that year, but was demoted instead. Enraged, the official brought his household servants to demand an explanation. The crow diviner used the information gathered by the crows to explain that the official had not spent enough money on temple renovation, which magically convinced him. The official, deeply believing in his abilities, even introduced the crow diviner to his colleagues. The crow diviner amassed a considerable fortune through this, but he knew too many secrets of the officials and feared for his life. He decided to change his career. One day, he attempted to drive all the crows away, but they refused to leave. The crow diviner tried various means to get rid of them, but the crows, unable to endure his mistreats any longer, attacked and picked him to death. Oh, okay, that's... Afterward, the crows transformed into human form, donned the attire of fortune tellers, and continued to sell fortunes around the temple, deceiving people, as the crow diviner had done. In bygone days, there lived a youth in the town, the son of a martial arts master. His father's fondness for drink led to a foolish act that landed the old man in jail, leaving only the youth and his mother struggling to survive. As their situations grew dire, the young man took on any work to make ends meet. The villagers praised him for caring for his mother, deeming him a dutiful son. In an unlucky year of crop failure, the mother and son set out to seek refuge with relatives. Along the way, a gang of bandits emerged, eyes fierce, faces scarred. They brandished their blades, demanding nothing but gold. The mother and son, destitute, resorted to begging for mercy, but the bandits showed no mercy and were intent on killing them. The young man, believing their death was imminent, seized the bandit's knife, and with a resolute heart, he ended his own mother's life and pledged himself to the bandits, and so he joined their ranks. News of the incident spread, and people condemned him as a coward, truly a cursed son. Years passed. One day, the entire gang of bandits was wiped out, leaving no trace. Some said a hero had come to rid the land of evil and uphold justice. Others claimed a Gwai had emerged in the mountains, bringing a long-delayed reckoning. Debates raged on, but eventually the topic faded from memory. One day, a man covered in blood stumbled down from the mountains, recounting an encounter with a towering bandit, neither human nor Gwai, wielding a massive blade to rob the roads. His face bore an uncanny resemblance to the cursed youth, yet he spoke of freeing humanity from its burdens. In the village of Shaded Heights, there lived a young man, orphaned and impoverished, constantly mistreated by his fellow villagers. One day, hunters from the village discovered a strange cave in the mountains, emitting eerie sounds that sent shivers down their spines. Too afraid to enter themselves, villagers pushed the young man in to investigate. Lost in the darkness, he stumbled and fell from a cliff, crying out in agony. Believing the cave harbored a fearsome Gwai, the villagers abandoned him in sudden terror. Okay. Sitting at the bottom, the young man wept bitterly. Amidst his tears, he heard the sound of bones snapping and the rustling of movement. Startled, he fell silent, only to hear footsteps approaching. Filled with fear, he yelled, "Stay away! I am an orphan and burdened with misery. My flesh is lean, feasting on me, and won't do you any good." Surprisingly, as soon as he spoke, the footsteps stopped. Time passed, and within the darkness, hunger gnawed at the man's senses. Despairingly, he pleaded, "There's no one coming for me. Devour me quickly so I may have a merciful death." Then the footsteps resumed, inching closer. Terrified, he assumed his end was imminent. Yet, to his astonishment, he felt a piece of cloth gently brushed against his face. Reaching out, he realized it was a sleeve, which he grasped firmly. The sleeve guided him to stand and led him through the darkness until he found the cave's entrance. As the daylight bathed them, the young man finally saw what had been guiding him, a skeleton serpent Gwai. Seeing the young man startled, the Gwai suddenly extended its neck and swept him out of the cave. Afterwards, the young man was saved by passing merchants and departed from the village with them. From then on, his life gradually improved and prospered. As the saying goes, misfortune may be a harbinger of fortune, and fortune may conceal misfortune. While not an absolute truth, when events reach their peak, change becomes inevitable. From change, opportunities arise, and the lowest valleys often reveal the clearest paths. In the kingdom of Hami? A small city stood against the mountains, its lush grasses and dense forests a haven for serpents, much to the townsfolk's constant dismay. There lived in the city a snake hunter, masterful in his craft, who had freed the people from many a serpent's threat, earning a fair share of silver in the process. He boasted not of his wealth. Instead, he often dispensed porridge to the needy and prayed for all. So revered was he that the magistrate awarded him a dwelling for all his family to live within the town walls. One day, a ragged monk, seemingly delusional, came begging at his door. The snake hunter's kind-hearted wife offered clothes and food, but the monk, unsatisfied, demanded liquor. The crowd scorned his impudence, their complaints growing loud until the snake hunter returned. He silenced their clamor and instructed his wife to bring the monk a gourd of spirits. Touched by the gesture, the monk warned, "A serpent Gwai lurks in your home. Ignore it not, or your family shall perish." The snake hunter scoffed at such mad ramblings and dismissed him promptly. Yet his wife heeded the monk's words, and urged her husband to search for the Gwai. He, however, brushed aside her concerns. In her persistence, the wife fetched the mad monk once more to banish the evil. Indeed, with raw meat and an iron hook, the monk drew from their home a massive serpent, taller than a man, clearly a creature of power. 4 limbs it sprouts, and venom deadly, the monk declared. A mere touch is death. With those words, he slew the serpent Gwai for the woman. Strangely thence, the town remained untouched by further snake scourges. As if by the mad monk's hand, peace was restored. In the highland bounds, there lived a widow and her girl, left to fend against the harsh days alone. The mother sold pancakes in the nearby village. The girl gathered firewood, ground grain, and cooked meals, shouldering her share of the family's responsibility. Ceaseless rains had worn down the woodshed, long neglected without a man's hand. The beams rotted and the roof caved in. One day, the girl found atop the ruins a gleaming mushroom, vibrant and capped like a bowl, dew dancing on its surface, a spark of life too precious to pluck. She sheltered it with straw, letting it thrive in peace. Laden with tasks, the girl had no time to play with other children. All her secrets and dreams she whispered to the mushroom, as if it were a dear friend. The toils of life led the widow into illness, urgently needing money for medicine. After discussing it, the widow and her daughter decided to sell their house. A wealthy neighbor, who had once been close to the widow's late husband, expressed interest in buying the house. However, this neighbor was very stingy and tried to exploit the widow's illness to lower the price. They spread various rumors to scare away other potential buyers, bullying the helpless widow and her daughter. Gotcha. Worried and anxious, the girl often hid in the woodshed to cry. The mushrooms witnessed all her grievances. The next day, something strange happened at the neighbor's house. Overnight, mushrooms had sprouted all over their property. When the neighbors ordered their servants to clear them away, They discovered a large eerie mushroom about a foot tall, neither green nor yellow, growing on the main beam. When they tried to cut down the mushroom with long-handled sickles, it suddenly rose into the air, opened its cap like a fishing net, and floated above them. It shook itself and then fell onto the man of the house, crushing him to death. The air was filled with countless spores the creature released, knocking everyone to the ground. Afterward, the mushrooms crawled out of the ground, transforming into many guys. They helped the widow and her daughter pack their belongings and leave the village, disappearing into the mountains. Ginsengling. It was written in ancient records that consuming ginseng could bestow longevity, leading many to develop a fervent passion for devouring this precious tuber, especially aged ones. However, some scholars dismiss this notion, viewing ginseng as both a tonic and a poison, its elevated status stemming from its humanoid appearance, they said. Nonetheless, those who made their living by harvesting ginseng always found eager buyers. Down within the valley, the younglings of ginseng shoots trembled with fear at the unmistakable sound of footsteps. It was the dreaded rhythm of the ginseng harvester's mountain shoes, crushing the thick layers of decaying leaves and rocky earth. And with every eerie resonance, the siblings of the ginseng plants vanished, disappearing one by one. Only the tiniest survivors managed to evade this grim fate, their diminutive size providing a fleeting reprieve. Yet, even they bore the mark of fate, a crimson thread marking them and restraining them. Who knew when the harvesters would return to dig them up once they grew into their full potential? Time raced by, swift and unyielding, and on that day, the familiar footsteps resurfaced. With the years that had passed, it was likely the offspring of the harvesters who were generations younger than those who came before. Then a quickened pace, a sense of anticipation, the crimson threads had surely been spotted. But oh, what ill fortune! As the ginseng harvesters reached the thread, it led them to a grim sight, the entwined remains of a skeleton. A curse gathered on the tip of his tongue, but before he could spit it out, the ground behind him rumbled with the sound of scattered dirt. He turned his head, a shifting soil unleashed a monstrous creature, towering and menacing. Fear gripped the harvester, urging him to flee, his frantic screams piercing the air, shouting of man-devouring guais. Oops. Okay, so we read Bulgard. I don't know how to pronounce that, sorry. There's not a monk, but a little wolf guy who yearned to be human. Let me actually look this up. How do you pronounce that? Okay, well, that's just the computer saying it, so I don't know. Anyway, he was not a monk, but a little wolf guy who yearned to be human. He often took human shape to play in town, but the people always saw through him and chased him away. When he asked the other Yaguais why, they explained, "You may look like them, but you don't act like them. That's why they know. If you want to learn to be human, go live among them. Spend time with them to learn their ways and manners." He took this advice to heart and begged his master to grant this wish. His master, old Lingshutse, who was close to the Black Bear Guai in the mountains, agreed. The Black Bear Guai transformed the pup into a little monk and sent him to study under Elder Jincha, an old friend. At first, the fellow monks disliked him. They played tricks on him, and he always fell for it, slow and gullible as he was. Jincha named him the Great Wisdom, hoping he would grow clever and sharp so his fellow monks couldn't bully him. With Jincha's care and teachings, he learned to read, write, and abide by the monastic rules. Gradually, he assimilated into their ranks. One day, two monks arrived at the temple. One had a fair, devout countenance, while the other had a face covered in fur. They possessed a wondrous treasure, the Kasaya of Eversparks. Jincha had never seen anything like it before, and longed for it desperately. Hoping to repay Jincha's teachings and nurturing, he devised a plan to acquire it for him. He never imagined his mistake would ignite red tides of flames that engulfed the temple he called home. Afterward, Jincha took his own life, and Lingshutse fell to the... I don't know. Even the Black Bear Guai surrendered and was taken by Guanyin. He saw how many had suffered for his sake, and knew he had failed utterly at being human. He shed his monk robes and retreated to the mountains, repenting with Jincha's teachings. In the years of practice in the mountains, he forged a new weapon inspired by the raging flames he saw that night. He named it the Red Tides. Even to this day, after numerous years, he continues to hear a persistent call echoing through the mountains. Who could it be that keeps calling him? Okay, interesting. I have to say something, because I have to try to pronounce it. I'm going to say Guangxi, something like that, and Guangmao. Guangmao, the great tactician, was not like his senior fellow pupil, Guangxi. From a young age, his heart yearned to be a legendary Yaoguai master remembered for ages. But fate had other plans. When old Lingshutse sent his beloved disciple to Guanyin Temple to be a monk, old White Snake Guai grew worried. The snake feared it was old Lingshutse's ploy to win favor with the Black Bear Guai, and commanded Guangmao to join the monkhood as well. Before he left, the snake warned him, never fall behind, least of all behind Guangxi. But no matter how hard Guangmao tried, Elder Jincha never seemed to favor him as much as Guangxi. Even when he learned faster and trained harder, Guangmao consoled himself, believing this stemmed not from his own failings, but from the snake's ham-fisted meddling, which had turned the elder against him. He found solace in the notion of returning to the mountains one day, when he could embrace his Yaoguai nature, unshackled by such trivial concerns. Guangmao can still recall Jincha's teachings. You can be too extreme, too uncompromising, always leave some room and some things unfinished. But the day Jincha saw the Kasaya of Eversparks, he desired it so intensely that he forgot his own words and wept long into the night. Guangmao saw the thoughts taking root in the old monk's heart, to kill for this prize. Everyone shied away from the idea, but Guangxi boldly spoke the truth. Guangmao seethed with inexplicable rage. In his mind, a scheme within a scheme began to take shape. As Elder Jincha drank tea with the two monks, Guangmao glimpsed an untamed malice in the monkey's eyes, a hunger for vengeance. Building on Guangxi's gambit, Guangmao goaded and prodded, weaving a merciless plot that left no room for escape. The old monk was delighted, and for the first time he acknowledged Guangmao's wit. With his plan set, Guangmao knew that doom would strike that night. Summoning a gust of wind, he hid in the bamboo grove behind the mountain. As anticipated, a great fire broke out that night, but it failed to kill the two journeying monks as intended. Instead, it burned the entire temple to the ground. Alas, the world harbors such petty souls, capable of ensnaring the lofty and vanquishing them with cunning plots. Perhaps this is what is meant by slaying with a borrowed blade. Lovely. I'm just gonna call him Baligalong. In the lands west of Blackwind Mountain, within a kingdom named Hami, stood a small town. Every day before dawn, a humble market would gather just outside the town gate. It was a place where the peddlers exchanged goods, while waiting for the gate to open. But due to the prices, even the townsfolk began to participate. Thus, this market gradually gained its reputation. A few months ago, an odd oil peddler arrived at the market, garbed in robes of pearly turquoise color, and with eyes that gleamed like copper bells. He had a voice that rang out with a boom, and his breath was foul and pungent, yet he happened to be a keen talker, and naturally was disliked by everyone. The oil he produced, on the other hand, was sought after by everyone. Who would not prefer the oil clear and smooth? And not to mention its price, one could exchange but a pinch of fragrant powder for a large gourd of such oil. One day, a wandering Taoist passed through the town and decided to visit the market. He enjoyed his experience until he sensed an eerie green mist emanating from the old peddler, a guai, no doubt. The monk chanted, and before the peddler could manage a decent struggle, it revealed its true form, a green-skinned giant frog. The bystanders were startled and grabbed whatever they could use to attack. It wasn't even hurting them, though, and it was providing a useful service. But whatever, sure, they attacked. The bystanders were startled and grabbed whatever they could use to attack. The frog kicked the ground with both legs, leaped higher than a tree, and swiftly fled towards the mountain. In pursuit, the folks arrived at the marshes, where they witnessed countless small frogs scraping mucus from each other's bodies, collecting it in a large barrel. They then applied the fragrant powder to themselves, hugging and sniffing each other in sheer delight. Silently, the people approached and peered into the barrel. The mucus inside gleamed with clarity, just like the oil they had favored. At the sight, they were occupied by bouts of nausea and began to vomit. Ah, okay. Well, yeah, feel free to attack him. None had the strength to pursue and kill guais. All the frogs noticed this and hastily fled, leaving the marshes filled with a rather unique scene. Langshutsa. The Grey Wolf Guai of the temple was once in exile from the kingdom of Shituo? I don't know. When Shituo was led to ruin, the wolves fled, following the Grey Wolf on a long and weary road until they found shelter under the banner of the Blackwind King. Unlike the old Langshutsa who pursued immortality and detachment, the Grey Wolf cared nothing for the ways of deities and Buddha, nor for the empty promises of eternal life. Instead, his heart was set on mastering strength and skill. He honed his craft with iron claws and fangs until he could strip the very flesh from the bones of his foes. When the old Langshutsa vanished, Black Bear Guai saw fit to elevate the Grey Wolf to be the new master of the Wolf Guais, giving him the name Langshutsa and tasking him with guarding the Guanyin Temple. The Wolf Guais who came with the new Langshutsa from the kingdom of Shituo also rose in power and surpassed those who had served longer in the distribution of spoils and favors. The local Wolf Guais had little affection for the ways of the new Langshutsa, and after finding themselves thrust aside, bitterness took root in their hearts. In their shared sense of grievance, they found a new unity of purpose. Often they gathered in secret, comforting each other, sharing old memories when the old master was in power, and quietly plotting against the new one. But Langshutsa was prepared. Under the pretense of a roll call, he gathered the local wolf guais in the temple and gave the signal to his loyal guards to seize the malcontents. The temple erupted into chaos. Langshutsa then leapt down from the roof into the crowd, ready to devour all who dared to betray him. The Fireblade Wolf, hearing the commotion, rushed over and managed to hold Langshutsa off and bought the minions time to flee to safety. When Blackwind King learned of this, he was ready to unleash punishment upon the rebellious wolf guais. The Snake Guai mediated, and peace was restored. Yet from that day forth, the local wolf guais refused to tread even within the shadow of the walls of Guanyin Temple. Elder Jincha. After 2 months of peace, Tong Monk reined in his horse. He saw towers and halls nestled deep in the fold of the mountains. At the gate of the place, they saw that it was indeed a temple. The master and his disciple exchanged greetings before passing through the mountain gate. In the main hall, they saw the name of the place, Guanyin Temple. Tong Monk was overjoyed, but Monkey said, "Master, this is no good place. Better to leave soon." But the monk wouldn't listen. He knelt before every golden statue he saw in prayer, and the monkey, impatient with his master's attitude, began to strike the bell incessantly, startling all the monks in the temple. Those from the upper and lower halls poured out. The monks greeted Tong Monk. Monkey used his see-through eye to look around and laughed. "Why do you monks here look so sickly and weak, with your spirit strained? Have you broken the precepts?" In Tong Monk's perception, the monks all wore brand new kasayas and had tall, sturdy bodies. He considered Monkey's words to be mere nonsense and remarked, "Don't speak so recklessly." Then he turned to apologize to the monks. The monks themselves regarded Monkey's words as nonsense as well. Only 2 small monks, hidden in the crowd, dared not reveal themselves. The elder of the temple invited the master and disciple to the back chamber for tea. After the monks had taken their seats and the feast was laid out, the 2 small monks assisted the elderly monk inside. Tong Monk bowed respectfully. The 2 exchanged a few pleasantries, and Tong Monk inquired, "May I ask about your esteemed age, venerable elder?" The old monk replied, "Despite my many mistakes, I have lived to see my 270th year." When Monkey heard this, he laughed and said, "Old skinflint, why do I smell Yaogwai in this temple?" The old monk did not answer. Tong Monk hastened to interject. "This disciple of mine can be somewhat unruly at times. Please, do not take offense." The small monk was just then using an exquisite vessel to pour 3 cups of fragrant tea for them. Monkey stared at him and said, "Where are you from, little monk?" The small monk set down the tea and swiftly hid behind the old monk. Biting his finger, he said, "This one has a furry face and a strange head. He's a bit scary." Tong Monk glanced at Monkey and said, "Mind your words, don't offend people with your brashness." He then shifted the conversation by praising the tea and the vessels. The old monk didn't seem to mind. Instead, he asked Tong Monk, "Noble sir, hailing from the emperor's capital, might you have any treasures that you could lend me for a mere glimpse?" All the monks laughed. Then they brought out 12 cases of kasayas, unfurled them, and hung them up for Tong Monk to see. But Monkey laughed and said, "Very well, very well. Put them away. Bring ours out for a look too." Tong Monk grabbed Monkey and tried hard to stop him, but Monkey said, do not fret. I know what I'm doing." Without more words, he took out the kasaya for the monks to see. As the old monk gazed upon such a wonder, his spirit was touched. He walked up to Tong Monk and knelt with tears in his eyes. "This humble monk is verily bereft of fortune. My eyes are dim and clouded. I cannot see clearly." Monkey laughed again and said, "And how do you intend to inspect it clearly?" The old monk replied, "If you would be so kind and trusting, allow me to take it back to the chamber and study it carefully overnight. I shall return it to you tomorrow morning before your departure. May I know your thoughts on this?" Upon hearing this, Tong Monk was startled and chided Monkey. Monkey laughed and said, What are you afraid of? Let him take it for a look. If anything goes wrong, I'll handle it. Okay, so that explains why the monkey was there in the music video, watching the temple burning. Oops. Since his return from Guanyin, the Black Wind King's spirit brimmed with grand plans. He vowed to restore his might in the mountains. He knew well that after years away, to win respect from the Yaoguais, strength alone would not make him bow. So he took many steps to try to earn both awe and loyalty. When he was with Guanyin, he learned the mantra of revival, harnessing the voluntary self-sacrifice of wolf-guais. He brought back old Linshutze from death, but that ungrateful old wolf left only a few words after the revival and vanished from the sight again. The Black Wind King feared the wolf pack would fall apart without a leader. He had to choose another wolf to head the pack. Okay, that explains why. Grey Wolf-guai, who wandered here from Shito Ridge, strong and in his prime, was a fine choice. The Black Wind King gave him the name Linshutze and helped him take the seat. Yet the wolf pack rose against their new master in the temple, and it almost led to a bloodbath among kin. In frustration, the Black Wind King used the mantra to try and bring back to life the old monk he used to practice with, but the soul of the monk did not return to the stitched corpse. Instead, it fused with the gold, silver, and copper coins the monk had buried in life, forming a maddened golem. It wandered and disturbed the mountain garrison day after day, never relenting. The newly appointed white-clad noble is far from ordinary. He typically indulges in solitary reading and poetry. Despite his outward appearance of loyalty and sincerity, he remains shrouded in mystery, making it impossible for others to fathom his true intentions. Alas, to think too highly of oneself and then end up achieving nothing. It is true that they say a fool with ambitions is worse than a nobody. In the purple bamboo grove where Guanyin resided, life was usually tranquil. The black bear Guai spent his days eating bamboo shoots with Aster and drinking homemade bamboo leaf brew. His days had become so unremarkable, they almost faded into nothingness. One day, the Long Princess paid him a sudden visit with Red Boy, her servant. Flustered, the black bear hastily gathered his dishes, trying to hide the mess. The Long Princess rolled her eyes and asked, "Have you thought about the task Guanyin mentioned to you a few days ago?" Black Bear Guai didn't answer. He simply retrieved a box out of the chest and handed it to the Long Princess. Red Boy snatched it and opened it. Inside was a transparent honey-fried sugar sculpture of an immortal riding a lion known as Lion Immortal Candy. Yesterday, there was a Dharma assembly. At the top of the feast, there was an exquisite and eye-catching sugar sculpture. I especially saved it for you as a token of my respect. Do you presume to understand my tastes? Keep this for the children. Hearing this, Red Boy lost interest and stuffed the box back into the Black Bear Guai's arms. Only then did the Long Princess let out a contemptuous laugh. Cognizant of his blunder, Black Bear Guai mumbled, "I'm willing to serve, but my abilities are mediocre. I'm afraid I can't handle such an important matter." The Long Princess replied, "Do you think we don't know that? Don't worry, there will be those fiercer and more ruthless than you leading the charge. No work, no reward. If it's a thorny matter, I might not be able to handle it. Guanyin will attend to all. No thorny matters shall prevail. Do not try to fool me. Guanyin instructed me to practice quietly here. Why would she intervene?" The Long Princess wore a long face and said, "How can you be so timid? This is a great opportunity. More people are vying for it than you could even imagine. Guanyin chose you only because she wanted someone she could trust. Can't you see that?" Black Bear Guai was speechless for a long time. The Long Princess had run out of patience. So little ambition. Forget it. I'll let Guanyin know. "Dear Princess, honorable Princess, that's not what I meant. I'll go." Only when she saw the eager look in the Black Bear Guai's eyes did the Princess roll her eyes again. Leaving Red Boy behind, she drifted away. Seeing her leave, Red Boy hastily asked Black Bear Guai, "What exactly is this task? I want to leave. Why don't you tell Guanyin and take me with you?" "It's a matter of great importance. But as you just heard, Guanyin didn't want you to go. Don't pester me anymore. I don't want to lose this opportunity for your sake." A few days later, Black Bear Guai had finished his preparations. Wielding a black tasseled spear, he was about to set off. Red Boy, who had been waiting outside the bamboo grove for days, hurriedly caught up with him and once again insisted on accompanying him. Contrary to his usual manner, Black Bear Guai tried to persuade him. "Red Boy, Guanyin has instructed that you must stay here. Even your father has been pressed into service this time. Surely you can see how perilous it is. This is no laughing matter." He touched the encaging band around his head and sighed. "To risk one's life just to remove a headband? It's not worth it." With that, he transformed his body into a black wind and swiftly vanished, paying no heed to Red Boy's desperate shouts. Afterward, Red Boy waited for him outside the bamboo grove for a long time, but he never saw him return. Later, when Red Boy recalled, he realized that it was the last time he ever saw Black Bear Guai in Guanyin's place. On a spring day, with a mild wind in the marsh of white mist, an old wolf brews tea over a stove, watching the white reflection in the water. He mutters, "You and I should not be here." The white-clad noble amid spear practice hears these words. Swift as thought, he hurls his spear towards the stove, and in another instant he flashes over, grips the haft, and stands poised before the aged Yaoguai. "Shall we sip blood or tea?" "Tea. Sit." They sit face to face. The old wolf hands the noble a bowl of tea. The noble drains it in one gulp. A fine tea. The old wolf nods. "Does a raised mountain garrison warrant so many schemes?" The noble replies, "I come at my brother's command. There are no schemes." The old wolf retorts, "My return from death, was it not a scheme?" Okay, so Linshutze. The noble says nothing. The old wolf gazes at him, also silent. Despite the cloudiness in the wolf's eyes, his unease is apparent. The noble ponders for a moment, then finally answers, "That truly wasn't a scheme. If not a scheme, then what was it? Have you heard about that child in the court? The Buddhas have that spell. They piece together items that mimic the body, chant the mantra of revival, and thus bring back alive." The old wolf smiles bitterly and shakes his head. "That master most assuredly wields no such power." "Indeed he does not, yet the foul relic he obtained bears this potency." The old wolf says anxiously, "But living like this, I can barely sleep or eat in peace. When doom is nigh, life may yet persist. When blessed with life, the loom of death lingers. Breathe and make peace with it, and you may find your tranquility." The old wolf says nothing. The noble lowers his eyes, also silent. For all the uncanniness of his eyes, his compassion is apparent. The old wolf says, "I'll leave this tea to you. Better to drink tea." The old wolf rises with a sweep of his sleeves, sighing deeply. living like this on their blood, how could I bear to do that? He totters away, not by the path he came, but turning down a fork in the road beside the marsh. Tell the master he doesn't need to come see me anymore. Ah. As stated in celestial laws, a keeper has the duty to observe the living beings in his domain and nurture the soil and streams. That day, as the keeper of the Blackwood Mountain made his customary rounds in the hills, tending to mortal concerns, he saw an aged Taoist drawing near from a distance. A vestment embellished with stars, a herb-gathering basket plaited from verdant creepers. A fishing drum tapped in his hand, and a song about the lofty moon. In just a few steps, he glided his way to the keeper. The keeper looked closely and was sure they had never met, but judging from the Taoist's white hair, vibrating face, and bright eyes full of authority, the keeper knew he was no ordinary mortal. Hastily, he greeted the Taoist master. This humble keeper pays his respects. The old Taoist nodded slightly and passed his basket to the keeper. The keeper took a look and saw the basket was filled with rare mystical items, as well as miraculous herbs. He couldn't help but be startled and asked, "How can a humble keeper accept such a generous gift?" The Taoist smiled and said, "I was just passing through this place, but I knew that soon there would be a great upheaval in this mountain. I thought the items in this basket would help you weather the storm for a while, so I came to visit." "What made you say this, sir?" "I have an old acquaintance with a bad temper. Although he has amassed a measure of merit, I worry that with his arrogant nature he shall find it impossible to stay out of trouble. I fear he will bring great disaster upon himself again." The keeper thought carefully and said sincerely, "What can a humble keeper be of help?" Seeing that the keeper was quite astute, the old Taoist gestured for him to draw near. He leaned in and murmured something into the keeper's ear, then instructed, "If you chance upon him in the mountain, pass on these 2 spells. I cannot reveal myself, hence I rely on you to teach him as a means of honoring our bond." Okay, so this is an explanation of the keeper as being our tutorial guide. The keeper was immensely grateful and bowed deeply in appreciation. The old Taoist returned the bow and was about to leave on a cloud. The keeper hurriedly asked, "May I inquire, Taoist master, from whence you hail?" By the time the keeper spoke, the Taoist had already vanished into the distance. A leaf floated down from the sky, its scent faint yet distinct, its tip extremely slender and long. A Bodhi leaf. At that moment, a revelation dawned upon the keeper. He bowed and paid his respects to the departing silhouette until the clouds and mist obscured his sight, then turned to depart. Ah. Shen Monkey. In Chang'an City stood the Temple of the Wild Goose Pagoda. Not far from its gates lived a diligent temple-goer named Ao Dasheng. One day, Dasheng dozed off as he sat at ease at home. In his dream, he found himself at the temple gate. 4 figures approached, a monkey, a dog, a long, and a tiger. Oh. What is it? Okay. I thought that was a place. The Princess of Long. So it's a Chinese dragon. Okay. In his dream, he found himself at the temple gate. 4 figures approached, a monkey, a dog, a long, and a tiger, all deep in talk. He heard the tiger ask, "Where do you plan to take that thing?" The long shook his head. "Fret not. I hear they've all returned to their caves. We need but make our way to each place and wait. Our meeting is sure." The dog then inquired, "May I ask, friend, where are you all off to?" The monkey replied, "I'm not fond of the sun, rain, or chill wind. For drinking, I shall seek out a lush and lovely spot." The long stretched his neck. "I need to dwell by the water. If your place is a water view, we might dwell near." The monkey waved him off. "I've seen that ugly mug of yours for all my long years. Better we live far and distant from each other." The long paid him no heed and asked the dog, "And you, young one, what plans do you have? Perhaps we can..." The dog said, No, the time isn't ripe. It's still too early. I'd rather head to the mortal world and have myself some experiences first." "Huh, experiences," scoffed the tiger. "You just yearn the hunt for rare herbs to play with your furnace." The dog flushed, but before he could retort, the monkey turned to the tiger. "And you? What's your plan?" The tiger thumped his chest. "I'll guard the village." Seeing his friends had made their choices, the old long said, "Well then, we don't need to travel together. Here's where we part ways, each to seek our path. When I meet that one, I'll gather you all again." With that, the four parted. Dasheng heard a thunderclap and woke with a start. The dream had already faded from his mind. Okay. Well, that was an hour long of me reading. And, yeah, we've missed... Alright, so we have the ability to see the Yaoguais that have spirits. And we also have a missed boss. So I'm really hoping that we can go back to the previous area. And if we can, then we're gonna do that. Anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.